Welcome back. This is my story of part 3. I was sick and thought it was normal. Tune in to part 1 and part 2 to catch up on the earlier parts of my story. As I said, I went through a series of small breakthroughs that helped me realize how to help my health before it got into trouble. These small breakthroughs would help me fix things before they got bad. I would prefer that everybody go through their own small breakthroughs rather than breakdowns, because that's the problem. If we don't catch things early on, we're a mess when things can't be fixed. So let's continue on with my story. Welcome, I'm Dr. Lisa Ann Homick of Homick Advanced Chiropractic, and this is Brain Snob, Episode 9. It is not an insult to be a brain snob. It is a high compliment. It means you understand how the brain works, so your life is benefited. Your brain makes your body. Now you make your life. So I stopped at the end of part 2, just before I was going to talk about my first chiropractic adjustment. And so I want to talk about that. But here's the interesting thing. I went to a chiropractor's office to volunteer. I don't know if that sounds wacky or unheard of, but I wanted to know something. I wanted to know if I should quit my job and go to chiropractic college. I was almost 30 years old, so you think back and go, oh, why am I doing this? Why would I want to dive into such an endeavor that is challenging? But here's the thing. Coming from the mental health field, I wanted to help people in a different way. There had to be a way to reach them. I felt like I couldn't reach them. They were trapped somewhere. And that was a challenge because they weren't working. Medicine wasn't working. They weren't any healthier. They weren't any happier. They weren't looking forward to a bright future. They were looking forward to more of the same. Just come in for your mental health care, hear the same stuff over and over, and it made me depressed. It made me struggle with, how do I actually help people? So when I went to this chiropractor's office to volunteer, I learned about the Winsor Autopsies. I don't have my notes with me, so I'm going to just have to pull it out of my head. But the Winsor Autopsies, it was a series of studies by a medical doctor who wanted to prove chiropractic wrong. Now you remember, chiropractors say the nerves that exit the spine, that go to the rest of the organs, will be impaired if there's something going on at the spinal level. And the organs will suffer because they're not getting the correct communication from the brain, and they're not sending the correct information to the brain so the brain can respond and help with the healing process. So he wanted to prove it wrong. He had a number of cadavers, dog cadavers, cat cadavers, human cadavers, and he did autopsies. He started with the death certificate of how these animals and people died. And he started at that organ, traced the nerve back to the spine, and found a nearly 100% correlation. He found spinal curvatures at the areas of the spine that correlated with organs of the body. And he found, let me just name some of the organs. If there was a problem with the heart, there was a corresponding problem at the spinal area where the nerves to the heart are. They're right at the base of the neck, a little bit in the rib cage area. Heart and lungs right up there. Stomach, mid-back, and he found the same things there. The lower organs, liver, reproductive organs. If there was a disease in any organ, he could correspond with the spine. This was published in 1921 in the Medical Times, and he was associated with the University of Pennsylvania. 1921 is almost 100 years ago. I didn't hear about this. That means none of you have heard about it. And it helped me make the decision. I said, I'm going to go to chiropractic school, and I'm going to learn more about the body. I already learned about the mind. I knew there was a mind-body connection, so I needed to bump up my education on the physical end. The mental end, I really had a lot of knowledge. So how do we marry the two? Because they've been separated for thousands of years. Chiropractic marries the two and makes perfect sense to me. Looking back on the history of chiropractic, there were a half a dozen mental hospitals, maybe more, in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. They were mental hospitals using just chiropractic and nutrition to help people get well, and they got well. So we've kind of lost that tradition as drugs became easy to manufacture, and they took over the market, and the chiropractic hospitals faded away. There weren't enough pioneers to carry it on and to bring it into our modern age. So we are sorely lacking in beneficial chiropractic care. People just think it's over there on the shelf just for a little bit of back pain if you just shoveled that snow and hurt yourself. But to me, the symptom that distracts you is just a tiny piece of the picture. Every system in your body is suffering stress because of that. And every system needs to be addressed. We address it with the master system, the nervous system, which is the brain and the spinal cord. And the spinal cord is just more brain cells, so the spinal cord is the brain. In 1935, Judge Ponath of the South Dakota Circuit Court was noticing that when patients were coming to his courtroom because they were committed, he saw the difference between the state hospital and the chiropractic hospital, and they had such a great success rate. He lobbied to have chiropractic in every hospital in the country. That was 1935. Do you have a chiropractor in your local hospital? No, you don't, because it died out. Unfortunately, there's other powers at play that kept this information away from the general public. Now, there's an addictions hospital in Miami Beach that uses chiropractic because there was a study that recently showed that you have the same cells of your limbic system are also in every spinal root of your spinal cord. And we keep the spine healthy and aligned and moving. People do better in addictions treatment. They have a real amazing outcome, and that's all been measured and studied. And if you want, so there is a hospital in Miami Beach and also in Israel. It's called the Exodus Addictions Treatment Center, and they use chiropractic to help people maintain their sobriety. And that's amazing to me because you don't hear about that. And it's the missing piece to the puzzle. And we need to put all the pieces need to be put together. Otherwise, you're just going to continue struggling. My first chiropractic adjustment, like I said, no pain, no problems. I said, I'm healthy, nothing wrong with me, even though I had an x-ray that started showing arthritic changes. And I already realized, I made that connection that when I was 5 years old and had that head injury, it affected my health as an adolescent and a teenager. That first chiropractic adjustment, was it a dramatic thing? Yes and no. Yes, because all night long my ears were popping. That was odd. And I said to the chiropractor, my ears keep popping. Well, that was the healing response. I had no idea I was so clogged up in my head. I had a clogged up head. And I also noticed I could turn my head and change lanes driving without fear. I used to have this pretty crazy anxiety about changing lanes, driving my car, because I couldn't turn my neck. But I thought that's as far as everybody's neck would turn. That is just ridiculous, the crazy ideas I had in my head. I was sick and thought it was normal. Another thing I noticed was, remember, I became vegetarian because, and I didn't mention this in the first couple videos, I had terrible stomach pain. Being vegetarian helped alleviate that, but when I got adjusted, I could tolerate bad foods. I don't recommend it, but I tolerated different foods in my diet, and the more I got adjusted, I didn't get just these horrible pains when I ate typical foods. Now, my diet is completely different right now. I eat the human diet. You know, back in your 20s and 30s and 40s, you just eat what you grew up with and what everybody else was eating. And I'll talk about that in future videos, but those were the most interesting things. But also, the level of clarity changed immediately, and my mood changed immediately. I didn't think I had a bad mood, but I kind of had this cloud over my head. Not all the time, but I felt this release of tension where I felt like the world was a better place. I could take on the world and enjoy it. I wasn't depressed. I always seem to have a good attitude. I'm always curious and learning new things. But that level of clarity and the mood change, I still can't describe it to this day. I felt lighter, and I felt like the weight of the world was taken off my shoulders. And I said, doggone it, I'm going to be adjusted the rest of my life, and other people need to do the same thing. They just don't know. If I didn't know, nobody knew. And, oh, that's just, I don't like knowing that people are suffering in a way they shouldn't be suffering because of lack of knowledge, just because they haven't been exposed to it. And part of my mission statement is to expose people to this information. So my focus is on the mind and body connection, because you need both. You got to take care of your mind, you got to take care of your body, but that connection is the brain and spinal cord, the nervous system, and we can take good care of that, and chiropractic is the most profound way to take care of that. And the reason people don't seem to get it is because there's really not a lab test for that. How do we test your mind-body connection? I don't know. It's guesswork. There is the EMG machines that will tell us how hard your nervous system is working. We can measure different changes in your skin temperature and the muscle activity in your spine. That is a neat device, and that tells us if our nervous system is out of whack and unable to take care of our bodies. That's the one thing we have, and but nothing else really. We can't really test for it other than listening to your story, listening to your history, getting you adjusted, helping you live a better life, and watch the positive changes that you will experience. So we need to care for the mind and the body together. And to me, there's that missing piece is the nervous system. That's the third piece to the puzzle. And I think I'm going to end my video now and decide what is the next topic I want to do for episode 10 of Brain Snob. But in the meantime, I want you to work on your own small breakthroughs. Don't let them be breakdowns, because we need to work on things when we can. We do get to the point of no return. Sad to say that. When your reserve is all gone, your reserve is all gone. But we want to keep your innate intelligence connected to your physical body. We've got to keep that invisible connected to the visible. So, dive into a better future with a better brain. Learn how to move your brain, feed your brain, and talk to your brain. How do we do that? You visit the office. You read my blog. It's called createpurpose.com. You watch the orientation video. You start a conversation in the comments section below here. You hit that subscribe button, and you also hit that bell for the notifications of my next video. Look for the next episode. I'm working on it, and got a lot of ideas cooking, and I'm trying to make them more interesting. I'm trying to fill in the blanks, because sometimes I get so excited with the information, I don't connect it too well. Mind-to-body connection, I need to have things connected on my video, Brain Snob Show. Become a brain snob so you can be a positive ripple effect in your community. It starts with you. You've got to do it. And you know people who need this information. You need to be a great example. So start doing these brain things that make your life better. Thanks for watching.